Today's guest on Empire Radio Sounds is Josh Casano. Josh Casano is a classically trained singer, songwriter, and a teacher from Latham, New York. With a degree in music education, Josh focused on classical, Spanish, and flamenco guitar, as well as voice and piano. Prior to gaining his degree in music education, Josh worked as a chef before making a decision to go into music education and devote his time to family, teaching, and his own songwriting and promotion. I met Josh while he was doing his internship at a local public high school I was teaching at the time. I realized Josh had a real gift for the world of singing, songwriting, and also a great rapport with the high school students who truly enjoyed his guitar and voice performances, which he would share with them from time to time. Josh has incorporated the use of loop stations to broaden his artistic palette as a single songwriter and has developed the ability to sound like a full band or a solo guitar. Along with cover tunes, Josh incorporates his own writing into each performance. His music has been played on WEQX 102.7 FM, Exit 97.7 FM, and Mix 106.1 FM. Josh has appeared in the Times-Union and been featured in the 518 Spotlight News cover story, Nippertone Publications, and also appeared on the CBS Morning Show as part of the performances for the WEQX Pearl Palooza Acoustic Garden Performer. For today, we will hear two of Josh Casano's songs. The first, You Said Hi, followed by Evelyn. Please stay with us after these two songs for an in-depth interview with Josh about his music, his career, and how he got to where he's at today, and also important information on a very nice upcoming gig at the Strand Theater on how to get tickets for that and when it's going to happen. See you soon, right after these two songs on Empire Radio Sounds.
When the worlds collide. Roll the dice with us, made some move. Went right up and drank that booze, lady. Me and you and me. There ain't nothing we can do. We can do. We should have took some fall. But in this loving heart, not till you by the hand, straight to another land. took some fall, but in his loving arms, I take you by the hand, straight to another land. It's it won't be to find it all. When did our backs the said so tall? Well, then I knew I could let you go with this sort of anchor. Never to let go. Never let it go. We surely took some fall, but in these living halls, not till you by the hand, straight to another land. We surely took some falls, but in these living halls, I take you by the hand, straight to another land. All right, this is called Ambry. This is Evelyn's song. This is for my 4-year-old daughter. I wrote this one early morning before the sun really came up while I was holding her after she was crying for a while she was a baby. Stretching out past my sight, as the doggies round as they wake in the distance. You in my arms, it's alright. The stars are shining up above so bright. I'm holding you in my arms so tight. You there's no resistance. I just live with all of your mind. Just live with all of your might. This love that makes me feel so good. And love like a daddy I wish you'd have. Love, I see it in your is tight. The sun is rising when the sky meets the road. Another morning kiss you with your tired eyes grow. Take you on adventures to see the great unknown. Show you all the things my daddy didn't know. Show you all the things my daddy didn't know. Love, love, love that makes me feel so good. And love, love like a daddy I wish it is. Love, love I can see in your eyes. Love we share the strongest tie. This love, love, love that makes me feel so good. And love, love like a daddy I wish it is. Love, love I can see in your eyes. Love we share the strongest tie. Love we share the strongest tie. Love we share the strongest tie. Love we share the strongest tie.
Well, Josh Casano, welcome to Empire Radio Sounds, and thank you for sharing your time and music with us. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in music before you even pursued a degree in music education?
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I got started in music really young. I wasn't always getting along with everybody and kind of wasn't really a part of big groups or anything. And when I was in elementary school, I started playing in the band. I played trumpet and never left the music room. And my dad's very musical. My father played guitar and, got me into Kingston Trio, early Beatles, lots of Peter, Paul and Mary. And my mom loved music, super music consumer. So like awesome to have her. And I'd listen to whatever she had and whatever my sister had. And it was awesome. So, I tried to do college a couple times and worked in kitchens for a very long time. And then it came time to go back to school. And, I had met my wife. And so I went back for music education and went to St. Rose when they had a pretty awesome program.
Cool. Well, that I completely relate to having a household full of music. I grew up that way myself, and I had a couple of uncles that were professional players and so forth. But that brings me directly to the next question, which is great. I recall from my own teaching days a few years back, we met while you were doing your student teaching at a local high school. And I remember you telling me a very interesting story about a road trip you had taken to some cities down south. And I was hoping you could share that story with us and what the intention on your part was to even undertake that road trip.
So during my student teaching, Sarah, my wife was already teaching, and I was lucky enough to do my student teaching at the same place. So we got the same break together, finally. I mean, I was working in kitchens. I was a head chef, I was a sous chef, I was doing all these things. And we never, anytime there was a vacation, that was our busy time. So we had a chance to finally take off on our own vacation. So we left out from Albany and went straight out to Niagara Falls, stopped, at a few wineries on the way and stuff. Went from Niagara Falls down through like Ohio, then Kentucky, stopped in Kentucky for a little bit, and went to Nashville. And I've never been to Nashville, and it was a cool time.
Nice.
I met up with somebody I went to St. Rose with for a night, and we hung out. And then we went to Memphis, which was even cooler. And then we drove straight down to Louisiana, and then all the way back up near the Smokies to go home up through Jersey to New York.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just a chance to get away, and we figured we'd make it as long as we could.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you were relating that story when I was teaching, I was thinking how cool, because they're all major major centers of Americana music in my mind. You know,
Yeah.
Memphis, Nashville, New Orleans. I mean, that's the heart and soul of the best of what America has to offer, I think. You know, so I was really impressed by that more than anything else. You know, wow, this cat actually did all this crazy stuff in a car.
And Sarah's one of the best people to go on a road trip with.
Nice.
She's up for anything. If you want to stop along the way, hey,
Yeah,
that looks
yeah.
fun. She'll just turn off and go.
Cool, cool. Well, I'm glad you got to have that experience with her. Before we get into any questions about your two songs that we're going to feature on this program, I have a couple questions regarding the nuts and bolts, if you will, of being a singer-songwriter and a multi-instrumentalist as you are. You write music, or do you write music, or the lyrics first? How does this work for you?
It depends. Sometimes I'll be practicing and working on some music, and then I'll find a progression that I like, and I'll use that to start, and I'll get a feel, and then a lyric will come. And sometimes I'm just sitting in the middle of nowhere, and I just have to write a lyric down, and then that's what drives it. It really could be either way. I never have like one preference over the other.
Right. I know some folks, singer-songwriter types, they like to carry a notebook around and write lyrics constantly, you know, as they pop into their heads. And I always wondered about how can you do that without some kind of music? There it is. Don't
Always
lose it.
there. Yeah, it's always there. It's always around.
Cool. Well, good. You're ready for when inspiration strikes. Cool. How do you decide what exactly to write lyrics about? Is it a specific market you're aiming for, or is it something else?
I write what comes out. I don't have a target for an audience or anything.
Right.
And, you know, my music has changed a little bit in the past years. And I think I just write about experience and I write about feeling. A lot of it has, a lot of my subject matter has really been since the adventure I've started with Sarah. A lot of it has to do with things we've done and the events that have happened since we've been together. So
Well, and that's, you know, a slice of life, as it were, you know, it's good. Well, could you expound a bit about how and perhaps why you use loops? I want the technical part of this questions.
I saw Keller Williams a long time ago and just fell in love with what he was doing. And he dances around and he loops boom whackers and shakers and bass guitar and synth, and he has like a hand sonic, and he does all these things, and it's just I was amazed by it, and I had to try it out. I wanted to take a shot at it, and I found I really liked it, but I didn't want to play his stuff.
Right.
So I found a way to make it work for me, and it's a lot of fun. I get to create a lot of texture, make a lot of sound, and be bigger than I actually am with all this stuff that I can do when I play.
Well, I think it's great though, because I kind of look at it like there's different art forms, you know, there's sculpture, there's painting, so it's all good, you know, it just whatever fits for you, you know, and I think that's great.
None of those things I'm good at though, painting, drawing, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler.
No, my biggest picture was SpongeBob when I was a teacher. I got a lot of mileage out of that in elementary school.
So I haven't passed the stick figure yet. I'm working on
it. Okay, well, I see you have your music on several radio stations, and also I've gotten some press for your music. I'm sure especially younger folks would like to know how you go about tackling that part of being a singer-songwriter. That's a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, be confident with what you've got. You've got like something that you want to get out there in the world. Be confident. Go to the radio stations you want to hear it on. Make sure that you're, you know, if you have something Americana, don't reach out to a hip hop station. If you have, you know, but when you reach out to that station, look at their webpage, find out if they have a local show like Chris and Andy at WEXT and Pearson at EQX. You know, look for those type of shows and get your music out there. Send an email, let them know who you are, what's involved in the track, and send them a good copy of the track. If they want to play it, you'll get an email back and say, hey, we really like this. We're going to play it on this date and time. And the more emails you send out, the more responses you're likely to get. And just be confident that what you're writing is what you want out there.
I like that. I think that's really good advice. And I think especially folks probably should take note. Yeah, if you're writing Americana, don't go to a hip hop station. Don't just shoot like a shotgun. You have to target what you're
Yeah.
trying to do. But I appreciate that advice because I think people don't realize how much work goes into what you're doing, or any of us musicians are doing that are writing music that has nothing to do with the writing part of it. Just getting it out
Yeah.
there. You know. Um, okay, well, that brings me to my next question. When I played your song, You Said Hi, on my Song of the Week segment of Empire Radio Sounds, you mentioned it being a family affair. Could you explain some of that connection for us?
Yeah, so this is kind of what I've been working on for the last like year or so, because it's taken a while. uh but I'm kind of trying to get away from doing so much solo stuff, and I've got music that I really want a full band behind, so it's become Josh Casano and the Fam. And when I get it all together, it'll be Notes with the Fam, a family collaboration. And this is either my blood relatives, like my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law's fiance, like he's my brother-in-law anyway, like they contribute to the music, and my colleagues who are part of my family, like on You Said Hi, Dave Gleason and Mike Lawrence both play on it. And Mike was my mentor when I started in the district. And I work with Dave, and we've played a few shows together. I've played shows with Mike, and they're part of that family. And I wanted them to appear on it, and that's just how it's been. And I'm lucky enough to have Mike Thomas and Matt Bruno and a slew of other people who are
Nice.
people I've played with, people I've looked up to, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, these are some great musicians. I've worked with Mike Lawrence quite a bit, and of course, we all know Gleason. What I like about it is the way they can adapt to whether it's a jazz gig one night or what you're doing. They're very good at sizing up the situation awareness.
Yeah.
So you got some strong people in that family right there as far as musicians go. Good. That's wonderful. I like the positive vibe to the lyrics of You Said Hi. Is there a particular inspiration for that song?
That's an adventure with my wife. That is
Okay.
So I met her when we worked at Trios, and I was in the kitchen. She was
Okay.
working at the front of the counter, and a song would come on, and I would try to make her dance, and she wouldn't want to. And so, like, Made You Dance and Took You for a Ride. And then For the Ride was a song that I wrote with her brother Alan years ago that we had put out. And so that kind of references the connection I have with her and her family. And
Nice.
Alan being a part of our adventures. And when Alan was in college, he used to come visit us all the time, because he was in MCLA, we were in Albany, and he lived down in southern New York. So it's just adventure and hanging out with my best friend.
Cool. Well, it's a wonderful backstory to that song. It's really a really wonderful song. On Evelyn's song, I particularly like the line, "Show all the things my daddy didn't know." It reminds me of Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World," and the line, "They'll know more than I'll ever know," referring to the next generation coming up. In both cases, there's an implied continuity about the way the baton gets handed from one generation to the next. Is this the sort of thing that came into your mind when writing the lyrics, or if this even makes sense to you the way I'm presenting it? Or
no, no, you're good. This was one of those, like, I'm gonna be here, and we're gonna do so many things and have so many adventures. And I know you saw the Mirth clip, and so I talk about holding her at like 4 a.m, 3 a.m while she's crying as a baby. And this kind of came into my head. The beginning of this came into my head. But yeah, there was a lot of things that I wish I had taken the initiative to do with my dad, and I didn't. And I want that for me and my kids and my daughters,
And I think that's probably a common sentiment with parents, new parents, as it were. But it's wonderful because you've crossed 3 generations here in that lyric. you know, and that's really a pretty cool thing, I think. Um,
Thank you.
so, okay, well, finally, first of all, thank you again for helping me out with this little pet retirement project of mine, Empire Radio Sounds. Blog
I
dedicated
like
to the
the name.
music. You know?
I
Yeah, that
like the
came.
name.
Thank you. It was inspired by, actually, I took a trip during this whole COVID nightmare. Took a trip to Manhattan toward the end of it, and our room just happened to be across from the Empire State Building, and it was all lit up in blue. And that kind of was how one thing led to another to another. But
Yeah.
anyhow, it's been a lot of fun for me to explore our area in the 518 and beyond. There's so much great musicians and so
Yeah.
forth. So before I leave, though, I know you have a great gig coming up at the Strand Theater. And if you could give us some details on how one can go to that, the time, the date, and I'll also put this posted at the end of our program.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So April 21st, I'll be at the Strand Theater in Hudson Falls, and it's 7:00 p.m. And the tickets are $10. You can get them when you get there. I'm not saying it's going to sell out, but it's going to be an awesome time. I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited to play this venue. It's beautiful. And it's going to be an all original show. It'll be some loops,
Cool.
some things I'm not going to loop, and probably a lot of stories, and just kind of
Nice.
hanging out and being intimate, because it's just me and I get to hang out and talk to the crowd, and
Well, I guess you're well versed in that now. That's more pressure than people think, doing any type of single thing. But I wish you well on that. I'll probably be gigging that night, but if not, I'll try and get out there. But I really appreciate you spending your time with us today and sharing your songs with us here on Empire Radio Sounds. Josh Casano. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too.
This is Marcus Benoit, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode from Empire Radio Sounds, where we do weekly and monthly features of songs and artists from the 518 area and beyond. Support local musicians and be most excellent to each other.